Have you ever paused amidst the hustle of daily life and felt a dissonance within? As if the life you're leading isn't truly yours, but rather a script handed down by others, parents, teachers, society. Deep within, a voice whispers, questioning the authenticity of your existence. When the distractions fade and you're left alone with your thoughts, there's a strange feeling, a subtle dissonance, as if your life is out of sync with something deep within you, as though you're playing a role you never auditioned for. You go through the motions, you wake up, you perform the expected tasks, you smile when required, you say the right things, you check the boxes. From the outside, everything may look perfectly fine, but somewhere inside, there's a whisper. This isn't me, not fully, and that whisper never entirely goes away. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and thinker, believed that this kind of quiet unrest, the nagging sense that something fundamental is missing, is not a sign of failure, but a clue, a signal from the depths of the psyche that we are living in conflict with our authentic self. Jung's work was not about symptom relief or superficial happiness. It was about wholeness. And the pursuit of wholeness, he believed, required us to peel back every layer of what we thought we were, until we arrived at something truer, deeper, more permanent. To understand this inner quest, we have to begin with the roles we play every day, what Jung called the persona. The persona is the social mask we wear. It's the version of ourselves that we present to the world, professional, polite, confident, agreeable. The persona is not fake, it's functional. Without it, society wouldn't work. We need ways to navigate relationships, norms, and expectations. But there's a danger when the persona becomes the whole self. When we forget that it's a role and start to believe that it's the entirety of who we are. When we invest so much in maintaining the mask that we no longer remember who's behind it. Think about how often you tailor your behavior to meet expectations, how you speak differently at work, around friends, on social media. How many of your choices were really yours, and how many were shaped by the desire to be accepted, praised, or simply not rejected? This tendency to adapt is rooted in childhood. From a young age, we learn which parts of ourselves are approved and which are frowned upon. A curious child may be told to stop asking so many questions. A sensitive boy may be told to toughen up. An assertive girl may be labeled bossy. Slowly, piece by piece, we start trimming ourselves to fit into molds designed by others. Over time, we build an identity, a seemingly coherent sense of self. But this identity may be more about survival than truth. It's crafted to win love, avoid pain, and gain approval. But it comes at a price. And the price is often the exile of our most essential parts. The pieces of ourselves that we hide, repress, or deny don't disappear. They don't dissolve into nothing. Instead, they retreat into the unconscious. Jung called this realm the shadow. The shadow is not just our dark side. It's everything we have pushed out of sight, our anger, jealousy, fear, but also our passion, intuition, creativity, and power. The shadow contains both what we're ashamed of and what we've been told to be ashamed of. It is everything we have disowned. And what happens when we leave all of that unexamined? It doesn't stay quiet. It seeps through the cracks in our persona. In moments of inexplicable anger, in sabotaged relationships, in addictions, obsessions, projections, in the persistent feeling that no matter how much we achieve, something is missing. You may have experienced this without even realizing it. Have you ever lashed out at someone and then thought, where did that come from? Have you ever irrationally hated someone who reminded you of something you tried to forget? That's your shadow at work, operating beneath the surface, influencing your life in ways you're not fully aware of. But Jung was clear. The shadow is not the enemy. In fact, it holds the key to your power. Until we make the unconscious conscious, he warned, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. The journey to reclaiming the self begins with turning toward the shadow, with the courage to face what we have hidden, even from ourselves. And it's here that the real work of transformation begins, because the goal is not to destroy the shadow or deny the persona. It's to integrate, to become whole. This is the process Jung called individuation. Individuation is the unfolding of the self. It's the path of becoming who you truly are, not by discarding what you've been, but by bringing all parts of yourself into consciousness. It is the reconciliation of opposites within you, the merging of light and dark, conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, rational and instinctual. This path isn't easy. In fact, it often begins with crisis, the breakdown of old identities, the realization that the life you've built no longer fits. What once gave you comfort now feels hollow. What once gave you purpose now feels meaningless. These aren't signs of failure. They're invitations. Invitations to go inward, to explore the inner landscape that you've been too busy, too afraid, or too conditioned to face. As you begin this journey, you'll meet parts of yourself you thought were lost. The angry child who was never allowed to speak, the passionate artist who was told to be practical, the spiritual seeker who learned to distrust wonder. You'll also meet fears, wounds, and contradictions. But through this process, you begin to shed the borrowed identities and move closer to what Jung called the self. The self is the central archetype in Jung's psychology. It's not just who you are at the surface level. It's the whole of your being. It includes your conscious identity, your shadow, and the deeper archetypal energies that live within you. You see, Jung didn't believe we are blank slates. He believed we are born with a psyche already structured by universal patterns. These are the archetypes, primordial images that shape the way we see the world, act in relationships, and find meaning. Archetypes aren't rigid roles. They're more like recurring themes in the story of humanity. The hero, the mother, the wise old man, the trickster. These figures appear in myths, religions, dreams, and even pop culture. But more importantly, they live within us. When you're drawn to a story of transformation, it's not random. The archetype of the hero is stirring in you. When you feel a deep need to create, to protect, to destroy, or to explore, you're engaging with these ancient forces. The journey of individuation involves not just integrating personal experiences, but also recognizing these collective forces. It's understanding that your inner struggles are not isolated. They are reflections of timeless human conflicts. And through this understanding, you find not only clarity, but also compassion for yourself, for others, for the entire messy, beautiful human condition. But here's a paradox. The self is both who you are and who you are becoming. It's both the origin and the destination. The more you integrate, the more you realize there is more to discover. The more you confront your shadow, the more capacity you have to love. The more you surrender the need to be perfect, the closer you get to being whole. And slowly, your life begins to change, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You stop needing constant validation. You stop chasing identities that never felt right. You become more comfortable in your own skin. Your relationships become more real. Your choices more aligned. Even your failures begin to feel meaningful. This is the quiet revolution of self-knowledge. It doesn't always look dramatic. There are no fireworks, no trophies. Often there's pain, confusion, loneliness. But beneath it all, there's something even stronger. A growing sense of inner freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when you're no longer running from yourself, When you live in harmony with who you truly are, even chaos becomes bearable. Because you're not clinging to a false self. You're rooted in something deeper, something enduring. Of course, this journey doesn't happen in isolation. In fact, other people play crucial roles. Our partners, families, enemies, even strangers, they all mirror parts of us that we cannot see on our own. They challenge us, trigger us, teach us, and every relationship becomes a kind of mirror, sometimes clear, sometimes distorted, but always reflecting something worth examining. Even suffering has a role in individuation. Jung said that neurosis is often the suffering of a soul that has not discovered its meaning. In other words, our psychological pain may be pointing us toward something vital, something we've ignored, suppressed, or forgotten. To walk this path is to embrace meaning over comfort, truth over approval, depth over surface. So ask yourself, who are you beneath the roles you play? Who were you before the world told you who to be? What have you hidden from yourself? What part of you is waiting to be reclaimed? There's no roadmap for this journey, no universal timeline. Each person's path is different, and that's the point. Individuation is deeply personal. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself. You are not here to be perfect. You are not here to meet every expectation. You are here to become whole. And in that wholeness, you offer something rare. A presence that is real. A depth that is healing. A quiet certainty that no external validation can ever provide. This is the gift of the inner journey. This is the reward of individuation. Not perfection, but peace. Not answers, but meaning. Not control, but connection. So now, I ask you again, whose life are you living? Whose dreams are you chasing? Whose approval are you still seeking? What parts of yourself have you abandoned? And what would it feel like to come home to yourself? The journey is long, the path is winding, but everything you need is already within you. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remember who you are.